So we're on Yud Gimel Amid Beis 13b1. Okay.
Right.
All right. So we're going to go a little slow here at the beginning because David will come to join us most likely right after Rabbi Gibber finishes his morning shir, which is about a 15-20 minute shir. All right, here we go. Remember, we've been talking where a guy makes his neder, his nazirus, okay? And then he proceeds in the second half of his statement to add in some variable which messed us up. So here we go. Hareini Nazir, right? The guy says, Ruvain says, I am a Nazir. Right away, if everything stopped right there, what would happen? The guy's a full-fledged Nazir for 30 days. Hareini Nazir. And then he throws conditions in here. The Nazir, and he says like this, Hareini Nazir, I am a Nazir. And then look at the next one, the Nazir, and I will again be a Nazir. Kishahoyali ben, when I have a son. So now, his Chomayna Eshalai, he begins his first unconditional Naziros of Hareini Nazir. He begins it. And then lo and behold, and during those 30 days, his wife gives birth to a son. Says the Mishnah, since you started yours first, and your language was Hareini Nazir, I will be a Nazir. And then only that you said, and I will also be a Nazir if my wife has a son, right? So you mashlim es shaloi, you finish first your 30-day. You finish your 30-day term. And after that, you count the son. Okay? When it says, by the way, that you finish your term, it means you completely finish your term. Not just the 30 days, but you bring the kabbanites, the three sacrifices, and you shave your head. And then you start again on the new one. Hang on one second. Let's just see who's trying to reach me here. It's being okay. All right, here we go. Further, Hareini Nazir. Now it's a switch. The second case of the Mishnah. Hareini Nazir sheyeheli bain. First, he says, I will be a Nazir if I have a son. And then he says, Vin Nazir, and by the way, I'm just taking on a Nazirus of my own.
Right.
So the conditional Nazirus.
Why don't you just call it A and B? So much easier.
Well, yeah, but you have to have it this way. The conditional Nazirus came before the regular Nazirus.
Right.
His Chilmayna Eshaloi, since his wife is still pregnant, he began his own. And then his son was born before he completed his own personal Nazirus term. Meniach Eshaloi, he puts his to the side in abeyance. The remaining days, so let's say out of a 30-day Nazirus, he did 20 days, and then his wife had a son. He puts the remaining 10 days in the bank, and Moines shel benoi, he counts the 30 days of his son, and after that, he counts the remaining 10 days of his, right? And then, at the end of all of that, which means after 60 days, 40, 30, 10, he brings 2 sets of kabbanas. He brings the 3 sets of kabbanas for the conditional Nazirus, 3 sets of kabbanis for his own Nazirus, and he takes a haircut. Okay? One haircut. One haircut, 6 kabbanis. Exactly.
In the first case, he has two
haircuts. Correct. In the first case,
two separate kabbanis.
Correct. There are 2 sets in 2 separate times.
Right.
At day 31 and at day 61.
Right.
Correct. In this one, because he reversed and he put the conditional Nazirus first and the regular Nazirus second, so even though he began the second Nazirus, the regular Nazirus first, when the conditional Nazirus came into play when his wife had a child, it immediately stopped the first one, banked the days that he already held, and left in abeyance the days that he needed to be mashlam, to fill up. He finishes, he then does the conditional Nazirus, brings back the remaining days of the regular Nazirus, and then combines to bring 6 kabbanis and 1 haircut. That's the difference. Good. Zakti Gemara, 13b2. 13b2. Bayi Rava, give me a second. Okay, here we go. Bayi Rava, Omar, if a person says, Hareini Nozilach Esim Yaim, I will be a Nazir, but it will take effect in 20 days. Okay? Umei Achshav Me'yayim, but I am a Nazir for 100 days starting from now. Me'achshav, from now. Mahu. So now you have 2 concentric circles, and they interconnect in the middle. The first one that he did, he said, I'm a Nazir, but it doesn't start until 20 days. The other one, he says 100. So the 20-day thing, the one that begins in 20 days, it happens during the 100-day Nazir.
Right. So you have 80 left.
You have 80. Mahu. Even the Holin Meya Be'esin Loishalmit. Do we say that since the 100 days cannot be completed without the 20 days used up when the other term takes effect, loichalin, they do not take effect at this time, meaning you wait 20 days, you start your 30-day regular Nazirus at day 20, and when you finish that, you start your 100-day Nazirus. Dilma. Even the Islay Gidul Sharla B'Saif, since he will still have 30 days growth at the end, even if the 100-day term is interrupted, Chayolin, it takes effect. In other words, today he begins his 100th day. He goes the first 20. Then the other one takes over.
He does 30.
Which goes to 30. At the end of those 30, he brings his 3 kabbanis and takes a haircut. Okay? Right. If he does that, there's still 50 days left. Actually, more than 50.
80 days.
There's 80 days left because he's now got to bring up. Obviously, in 80 days, your hair grows plenty. So there's more than enough for him to go ahead and still at the end of those 80 days, bring his kabbanis and have hair to cut. So really, he begins now. And there is no waiting 20 days like the first part. The first part says nothing happens for 20 days. On day 20, you begin your regular Nazirus, go 30 days, bring your kabbanis, take a haircut, and then start your 100-day.
So you do 100.
Says you start now.
So you do 130 according to the first.
Right. You don't do 130.
What?
You do 130, but you're over 150-day period. 150-day period. In other words, you wait 20 days till the first Nazir starts.
The waiting till 20 days is nothing.
Nothing. I'm just saying, but from today's declaration, there's 150 days. 10, 20 that you wait, 30 that you do, you bring your carbon, take a haircut, and then you do your 100, bring kabbanis and take a haircut. But the second way says, no, the whole thing is right here and now. there's 130 days, period. You start now with your 100-day Nazirus. At day 20, it gets interrupted for your regular Nazirus. Okay? At day 50, you finish your 30-day Nazirus, you take a haircut, bring Kabbanis, you take a haircut. You then resume another 80 days remaining of your 100-day Nazirus, which gives you enough time to grow hair and bring your Kabbanis and cut your hair at the end of it. So the question really here is the first 20 days. Do we wait or do we not wait? That's the real question here.
Right.
So in other words, Daddy, is there 150 days, i.e. 20 that's nothing and 130 that are? Or there's only 130 days because you're going to begin right away. Does this make sense to everybody? Right.
Yeah. It's really one extra day though, right? Because on the 31st day, he's going to be getting this.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
so
I'm just using whole numbers. Right. I'm just using whole numbers. The real question here is when he said this, when is everything getting triggered? Does he got 20 days to party or he doesn't get 20 days to party? That's the bottom line. So Zakti Gemara, Viti Bayale, Le Nazirus Muetes. Why does he talk about a 30-day Nazirus? Why does he have to bring a 100-day Nazirus? Just say, a guy says, I'm having a 30-day Nazirus. Guy says, I'm sorry. In 30-day Nazirus, that's going to start in 20 days. And by the way, I'm accepting on myself another 30-day Nazirus from now. So 20 days into that 30, what happens? The other one intersects. So the other one takes over for 30 days, and then you'll hold your other 10, right? But we already know the answer. So Zakti Gemara, first the Gemara says, Chadu migoi chadu kami bayale. Roberts talks about the long term and with the comparison to the short term. Today's daf, Yud Dalet, Im Timtzu 14a1. Im Timtzu Lyman Naziris Muetes. If you say the case of a 30-day Naziris, Chiban de Asara Yomim Hudi Yisra. Since at the end there's only 10 days remaining, meaning your whole 20. Then you bank that, you take your 10 remaining, put it to the side. You now cover your 30-day Nazirus that takes place at 20 days. And then at the end, you bring your kabbanos and you shave. And then you're left with 10 days. Those 10 days do not count for him. Why? Because there's not enough time for your hair to grow.
Because he had a taglachas from the 30 days.
From the 30-day one, and now you only have 10 days left to regrow your hair. Jeff, you understand this?
Yeah.
In other words, the middle one, the 20-day one, the one that started at 20-day, when you finished it, you brought kabbanis and you took a haircut. Now you only have 10 days left over from the other one. In 10 days, you can't grow your hair. It's not enough hair to cut and throw under the fire that you're doing to deal with the kabbanis. So Vadai Nazir Meir, but Vadai Nazir Meir, but when one declares a Nazirus of 100 days, even the Islay Tamnin Yomi Libasib, since he'll have 80 days remaining. In other words, he'll start from now, go 20 days, pause, cover the 30-day one, the second 30-day one, bring the kabbanis, shave, and you're still left with 80 days to go to grow your hair and all that. Right? We counted for him because there's no problem with him having his hair cut. Or lie, or no. No. Everything is mutually exclusive. No concentric circles. Meaning, 20 days you do nothing. At day 20, you do the 30-day Nazirus. Take care of the 30-day Nazirus with its kabbanis and haircut, and then start the 100-day Nazirus. If you want to say that it takes effect immediately, you don't wait 20 days, it goes right away. Omar, if he says, Hareini Nazir la'acha eshem yoim, I am a Nazir to take effect after 20 days. Achshir Nazir Oilam, and from now I'm a permanent Nazir. Mahu, what's the din? A permanent Nazir doesn't do what, everybody? Doesn't have regularly scheduled haircuts. Right?
Only when it gets heavy.
What? Only when it gets heavy, once every 12 months, like Abshalom. Okay? Imtim Sulaima, if you want to say, even the Epshalishtu, since he can petition to have the 30-day Nazirus be annulled. It's no different than any other neder, like any other vow. If a person takes a vow to be a Nazir, he can go to his Rav and say, I made a mistake. Charata, I made a mistake. Can have it annulled. Therefore, the permanent one takes effect right away, because we'll tell him, you already took yourself out of Nazir Olam. Go ahead and revoke your, what he called, go and annul your, be Mayfair your Nazirus, be Mayfair Neder. So go ahead and annul and go get rid of your regular 30-day one. But what happens if he says, Amahareini Nazir Shimshin La'acha Simyayim? I will be a Samsonite Nazir after 20 days. If you remember, a Nazir Shimshin cannot go to a Rav to get it annulled. Yeah. It's automatic. Me'achshav Nazir Stamim, from now I'm a Nazir. So 20 days into his regular Nazirus, starts his Nazir Shimshin. Mahu, Hachaloi Epshali Shule. Since the Shimshin Nazirus, it's not possible to petition for a release. Does the 30-day one start now? Because it's going to bang into. Whoops. Stay on the line and someone be right. Hi, Jeff. We heard that. Mahu. Does the standard term take effect or not? In other words, does the regular Nazirus go for 20 days and then bang up against the Nazir Shimshin, right? And get consumed by the Nazir Shimshin because it never ends.
And you'll never have taglachas.
You'll never have taglachas.
You'll know you for forever.
And the Gemara says, keeps going. Oma, if a guy says, like Moshe on the 7th day of Adar, what's the law? The decoration of the Nazirus, right? This is, in other words, this was his birthday, Moshe's birthday, and his yard site, right? The former, his birthday makes it a day of celebration. His yard site is a day of sorrow, right? The day of sorrow was marked by taking on Nazirus, right? The question is, when a man says, by the 7th of Adar, did he mean the sorrow to take on Nazirus, or did he mean as a celebration and it has nothing to do with Nazirus? Okay? Something Gemara. I can at least answer the first question. I'm a Nazir from 20 days from now. From now for 100 days. We have a brisa that says straight out, you count 20 of the 100. Then you put it, you pause it, you cover your 30-day one, and then you bring kabbanis, you shave, and then you count the remaining 80 days of the 100-day one to complete the first Naziris. And since your hair has enough time to grow over 80 days, it's not a problem. Something Gemara. What happens? Nitma b'nei b'noi. Now here's the case. Give me a second. I wrote it on the side over here. Give me a second. And let me just find it. Give me a second. Here we go. How come I can't find it? Okay, hold it. Give me a second.
He started 20 days.
Okay.
That's the 30 days of Benoi. And during that 30 days,
what do you call it? Right. So in other words, he started the first, then he had the 30 days of his son, And
during
during
that
that period of
30
time, he got Tomei. So the
See,
question is, now here's the question, very good.
Does it erase everything?
Does it erase only, Jeff, here it is again. From day one, he started, let's say, his 100-day Nazirus. On day 20, he had a son, and so he puts aside the remaining 80 days, okay? And he starts the 30 days of his son's Nazirus. And then he becomes Tomei. Now, we know the rule is, if a Nazir becomes Tomei Mace, contaminated to a corpse, he loses all his days. He's got to start back from day one. The question here is, since he was now doing only the conditional Nazirus of having had his son, did he just forfeit just that Nazirus of the conditional one with the son? But the 20 days that he had already done of the 100, which were banked on the side, does he lose those two? Or no? They're a completely separate Nazirus. They were banked on the side. They've been deposited already. And those he doesn't lose. You understand the question?
So he's asking even the 20 days that he of the 100 that he
100.
already did.
Right. If it's lost, if it's not, is it banked? So Rabbi Yochanan Omar Soiser, yes, it is. You lost it. You got to start it. You lost everything. Reish Lakish, we're on 14a2. Reish Lakish Shama ain't a Soiser. Reish Lakish says you're not Soiser. You're not Soiser. And the Gemara explains. Rabbi Yochanan Omar Soiser, you lose all the days. Chodod Nazirus Arichtu. It's one long Nazirus. The fact that the conditional one takes place is just part and parcel of one long Nazirus. We're allowing you to superimpose that second Nazirus on top of the first Nazirus. But they're all combined. They're all there. They're all there. It is not. It's two separate things. Nazirus didei lechud, didei lechud, u'v'divrei lechud. Each one is separate. Your own Nazirus is one thing. The conditional Nazirus based on having a son is another thing. The proof is you didn't superimpose. You took the entire 100-day Nazirus and stooped it to the side. And you replaced it with the son.
You suspended it.
You suspended it completely. It's like alternate side in New York. Alternate side parking. Every once in a while, it gets suspended. But even if alternate side gets suspended, the meter laws are still in place. So the meter laws stay, the alternate side gets suspended. The next day, it's back. Don't you worry about it, right? Because the city needs its money. So there you go. That's the question. So we're on Yud Dalet Amud Beis. Yud Dalet Amud Beis. Okay? Now, here comes something else.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like it's two defined terms. And within the defined terms, you have separate issues.
Very, very good. Okay, guys, just wait 1 minute. My wife asked me to go upstairs, so hang on 1 second. I'm coming along. Hang on. Just stay there. There we go.
You're mobile.
You're getting a tour of my house over here. Okay, hold on.
You're like Patrick McCombs moving in the pocket.
Pocket. Halabai. He's something special. Anyways, here we go. You sure? Give me a second. Hold on. Okay. It happens to be, Jeff. I hear it too. I hear a Shlokish is one too, which is that they have two different names. One is this, one is that. They seem to be mutually exclusive. Why should one affect the other?
The Shlokish looks at the name, and Rabbi Yochanan doesn't look at the name. He looks
at the Nazirus.
At the Nazirus, that's it.
Right. So, but Jeff, hold your thought, because the Gemara is going to bring down exactly what you just said. Now, Here comes something else. I want to read directly from the art scroll on top. Yud Daled Amid Beis 14b1. Okay, right on top, in the top section, up on top. Naziris cannot be counted while a person is contaminated with the tumah of tsaras, biblical leprosy. Nonetheless, if a Nazir becomes a Mitzayra, he does not forfeit the days observed prior to his affliction. Rather, the tsaras suspends the count of his Nazir's term until the tsaras has passed and he completes his purification with kabbanis and blood and etc. The Gemara now considers the law for a Nazir who contracted tumah from a corpse while contaminated with tsaras. In other words, the rule that contamination, tumah, erases all the days, forfeits all the days, is only for tumas meis, is only for the contamination of the dead. Tsaras, the tumah of the biblical leprosy, merely suspends your nazirus. It says, oh, you have, heaven forbid, you have tsaras, take care of that first. Right. When you clear that, you can continue where you left off. Okay? Now here's a case. A guy was a Nazir. Chas v'shalom, he got tsaras, biblical leprosy. So now he's in a holding position. He's like on a plane on the runway, and you think you're going to take off, and you're stuck on the runway now. Okay? You're in a no man's land. That's where you are with tsaras. Now you get tumas, you get rega, and now this guy, somebody dies, and he is mitama to meis. He gets contaminated to a dead, right? So now here's our question. When he got his tsaras, what happened to his nazirus? Was it simply pushed? It was suspended, right? It's stuck on the runway. Does it still exist? If it does, then the tumas meis that he got while tsaras is going to affect even the nazirus. And the nazirus, all the days are going to be forfeited. He's going to have to start back at the terminal. The plane's going back to the terminal.
Right.
Or no. Since you've already left the terminal, because now you have tsaras. You now have tsaras. You can't with nazirus now. It's been completely suspended. It's behind you, right?
Right.
In that case, your tumah only affects what? Your tsaras here and the now. It has no impact on what's going back over there in the terminal.
Well, yeah.
As far as the terminal's concerned, you guys left the gate.
Right.
They don't give a flip that you didn't fly up. They already checked you in.
Right.
So what's the din? Here's our case. Nitma mi beit sarasai. If a Nazir who was tameh from saras then became tameh the maze, Rabbi Yochanan and Amasaiser, everything. The plane went back to the terminal. That's it. Rabbi Shil Shlakishama Edasaisa. The plane left the terminal. When we suspended your nazirus, it's no longer here. You're now dealing with saras. Your tumah meis happened while you were at saras. It's got no impact on your nazirus.
Right.
Rabbi Yochanan Amasaiser Nazirus guy. He's in the middle of nazirus. What are you talking about? The whole idea of getting on a plane is to take off. It's all one thing. Terminal, plane, until you're in the air, until you land where you got to go. That's what you are. Reish Lakish Eina Saisa, Saras L'chud, Nazirus L'chud. Saras is one thing, Nazirus is another. So why do I need both cases? In essence, this case, And the one we just said before on Amid Aleph is exactly the same case. So Zakti Gemara Tzaricha. I need both cases. If we are talking about the first case where the tumor occurred while he's doing the Nazirus of his son, there Rabbi Yochanan says everything is forfeited. Shame Nazirus Achasu. They all have one name class of Nazirus. My 100-day Nazirus, not my Ruvain's 100-day Nazirus, and the 100-day Nazirus and the 30-day Nazirus of the son. It's all Nazirus. Over here in a case where the Nazirus was suspended by Tsaras, maybe he agrees with Rav Shlokish, the Nazir l'chud with Tsaras l'chud. Nazirus is one thing and Tsaras is another thing.
That's why he needs this case to let you know.
That's why he needs a second case. Let me know. No, it's all the same to me. And if we had only brought down the case of Tsaras, over here, Reish Lakish says that they're two distinct cases because one's Tsaras and one is Nazirus. But in the first case, where you're dealing with two types of Nazirus, 100-day Nazirus and a conditional Nazirus, at the end of the day, it's under the classification of Nazirus. I might have thought he agrees with Rabbi Yochanan and Saricha that no, he agrees with Harab Jeff Karp, that no, it's distinct, right? That each one is a distinct term and they don't mix up together. Very good. Vital. Nitma biyoin gidul sar. In other words, he finished all 30 days. Or what happened was, for some reason he cut his hair within the 30-day period, he has to continue. Read the article on top. If a Nazir's hair has been cut within 30 days of the end of his term, he must continue to observe the restrictions on Nazirus past the end of his term until he has a 30-day growth of hair. This extension is known as the day of hair growth, Biyoim Gidul Sar, the day of hair growth. And the Gemara now investigates.
He already finished the entire Nazirus.
But during his Nazirus, for some reason, he took a haircut.
Well, so somebody forced him.
Whatever. Again, what the case is not important. The point is, at the end of your Nazirus, you need 30 days. Hi, David. How are you? Hi, David. Welcome. So, well, he's connecting. Here we go. Hi, David. How are you? Good morning. Okay, so here is the case. So he took a haircut during his Nazirus. However that happened, somebody put a gun to his head and all that. Bottom line is, here it is. Good morning, David.
Good morning. Good morning.
So the guy is not supposed to cut his hair until the end of his Nazirut. For some reason, he cut his hair here in the middle of his Nazirus. And then the period of his Nazirus ended. He still has a din. He has to wait to Biyoim Gidul Sar. He has to let his hair grow a 30-day growth before he's allowed to get rid of the restrictions of Nazirus, even though the period is already over. Right. So let's say on day 25, he cut his hair. On day 30, it's over. He still has to wait to day 55.
Wow.
Okay, 35, 45, 55, day 55. Okay, so what happened?
Then he became Tumames.
Nitma biyom gidul sar. So now after his 30 days, on day 54, day 55, just when his hair fully grew back, and he's ready to shave it off and bring the kabbanis and be done with this. Lo and behold, he's got to go to a levaya. He's metama meis. He's metama meis. He gets contamination from a dead. Rav Amma ain't a soisa. This doesn't cause him to forfeit his days. He already covered his 30 days.
Those days are done already.
They're already done. The only reason why he's still hanging out is because he needed to let his hair grow longer. But the actual term is done. Even according to Rabbi Yochanan that we just learned above, that he holds that if you become Tumah Mace in the middle and you're at Saras in the middle, or whatever the case is, you do forfeit. That's only when the person is still within his term of Nazirus. Then, since the actual term exists, you can forfeit it. The extension of the hair growth is merely a supplement to the Nazirus. What do I mean by that? The 30 days are up. You just cannot bring your kabbanas because you don't have enough hair to throw underneath the kabbanas. You need 30 days worth of growth. So that's a separate problem. But the actual Nazirus is gone. Or like you said before, Jeff, 30 days. And on the 31st day, right, is when you go in and bring your kabbanas and you do your hair. But that 31st day is after the term. It's just that you need to be able to, you need to finish it up. You have to tie it up. How do you tie it up? By going ahead and bringing your kabbanas and shaving your hair. But that's not actually Nazirus. That's the post-Nazirus. I go. To make this personal, Jeff, there's the surgery. And then after the surgery, you got to sew the guy back up. The sewing the guy back up is not the surgery. That's the post-surgery. There you go. So that's the same thing over here. The surgery is the Nazirus. The post-surgery is the bringing of the 3 kabbanas and the hair that you cut off and you throw under the fire. Right?
Is there any amount of hair you're supposed to have if you take
30 days
like
growth. 30 days growth.
And what about if you're bald? You can be another.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. 30 days growth.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
30 days growth. Since the back hair grows, that will be the growth. 30 days growth. That's it. Okay? That's all you have to know. 30 days growth. That's it. You notice
you should mention that even though when he does the taglachas, the shaving, he's really going against the din from the Torah.
Correct.
That he takes away his payers.
Correct.
He still has to do.
He doesn't. When he says he shaves even this part.
Everything.
All comes up, including the eyebrows. Gone. All gone.
It's kind of humiliating, you know.
Not kinda. It is. It's part and parcel. It's part and parcel of the situation. But again, but the point of it is that final thing of bringing the kabbanas and cutting the hair is post the surgery. That's the tying up. It's not the surgery itself.
Right.
To personalize this to this daf, right? But you get the idea. If you think about it conceptually, that is always the case.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys an example. Use a Sefer Torah. A Sefer Torah, right? The Torah scroll. What's the Kedusha? The Kedusha is the Sefer Torah. The mantle, the cover that we put on it, that's a tashmish lekedusha.
Right.
That's an accessory to the holy. The Aron Kodesh is a tashmish letashmish, is an accessory to the Torah. And it has all different dinim, all different rules. It's not the same. The Iker is the Torah.
Right.
The mantle is second. Now, but you never put away a Sefer Torah without putting on the mantle. That's the same thing over here. The Nazirus is the Iker. The Kabbanos and the hair are just the covering, the end. That's how you put it away. But it's not the actual Nazirus, says Rabbi, according to this. How do you mean? Yeah.
This is a little off track, but
No, go ahead.
When the second temple was destroyed,
yes,
did that end the era of the Nazir, or did they practice after that? Were they able to practice after that?
So the answer is
Yeah, you could be.
Theoretically, there are Nazirs even today. There happens to be one Nazir in Israel, rabbi who was here last week. What's his name? The one who gives that shir on the YouTube.
Stefanski.
Rabbi Stefanski interviewed a Nazir. Having said that, today, if somebody takes on the Zirut, he's a Nazir Olam. He's a forever Nazir.
Forever.
Yeah, because you can't bring the sacrifice.
Can't bring the korbanos.
Can't bring the sacrifices. In fact, today, if somebody becomes a Nazir, he becomes a Nazir Shimshon. That's in essence what he is. A Nazir Shimshon, so that he can take a haircut once every blue moon to make sure that it's not what he called. And he could be Metamal Mace. Remember, a Nazir Shimshon is allowed to get contaminated to the dead.
No, because a Nazir Shimshon, because a Nazir Olam.
No, Nazir Shimshon, because so they can go to funerals.
But I thought that had to be from the heavens. That.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you that people can accept upon themselves that Rabbi Stefanski, right? Eli Stefanski, when he interviewed that Nazir accepted upon himself, Nazir Shimshon.
Oh, if you accept it. But
he accepted.
But if you say I'm going to be a Nazir, you don't say Shimshon.
No, then you're a
Nazir Olam.
Right, you're a Nazir Olam. Now, a Nazir Olam theoretically can get it annulled. A Nazir Shimshon cannot get it annulled.
Right.
Not in this world.
Not in this world. Exactly right.
I don't think today you could get an annulled if you have. I think you have to have smicha or something like that.
Right, and that's a separate problem. So you can only go to somebody like my father who has smicha.
Today's smicha is not what it used. It's not the smicha.
It's not the smicha of yesteryear. That is true.
That's
in fact, the fact is, Jeff, to be totally honest, in essence, we did away with this. The same reason why we did away with fast days. I know we have a bunch of fast days, but it used to be extraordinarily prevalent that people fasted all the time as a matter of repentance. And today we say none of us are on that level. None of us are so holy that a fast day can do something. Instead, you work upon yourself in the world that we have. That's
you know where it's very prevalent. The Nazir is like not in terms of what.
Yeah, obviously.
In India.
I was just going to say, in India, you have a lot of those who don't who let their fingernails grow, who let their hair grow, and it's a very, again, I don't want to. You're asking a very good question, and it really goes to a much larger thing. We Jews do not believe in aesthetic, meaning going on a mountain and taking a vow of poverty, a vow of not allowing yourself to benefit from the world. We really, really, really do not believe that is the way that one serves the Creator.
Like the Catholic who believe
the monastery.
That a priest cannot marry or something like that.
Right. By us, the Kohen Gadol, before Yom Kippur, they would prepare for him another wife.
Just in case
his wife dies, because a person who's unmarried cannot do the Avodah in the Beis HaMikdash.
Right.
Cannot go L'fnai L'fnim. You have to be married. You have to have a family. You have to be in the world. Because it's in this world that Kaviyachol we bring the holiness of Hashem from up there down into this world. Or in the words of the Kabbalah, the Kabbalists, our job is to take the nitzitzis from the kalipas, to unveil the sparks from the shell. Right? That's the lashon of in Kabbalah. But really, what it means in essence is, to quote Rabbi Sachs, to bring Hashem down into this world. Our job is to fix this world. right? We are all partners with Hashem in this world. Right? It has to go over. There's 3 shutfim in every man, right? His father and his mother and the Rabbeinu Shalom. Right? Everybody's a shutif in my Bereshis. We are all partners in the creation of the world. That's the way it means. So, Nazirus is not something that is celebrated in our world, and I suspect it was never celebrated. If you remember Shimon HaTzadik, I think it was Shimon HaTzadik, only one Nazir would he eat from his kabbanas, because he only found one Nazir who was pure entirely.
The Shimon HaTzadik.
Right. So let's go finish up over here. So let's just go again. Nitme b'yoyim gidul sar. In other words, on day 55, when he was growing his hair, he became tumamez. Ravam ein saisa. No, it doesn't cause it to be forfeited. I feel Rabbi Yochanan the saisa. Even according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says you do get forfeit if you become tumah during different periods of nazirus. You forfeit all your days. Hani miliyech the kab nazirus. That's only when a person is within a period of nazirus. Gidul sar mishalim nazirasu. The hair growth is only a supplement. You finished it 20 days ago.
Right.
You just needed your hair to grow. Shmuel amasaisa. Shmuel says most certainly you forfeit. And he says, according to Rish Lakish, I said before, that a tumah during one kind of nazirus does not affect the other kind of nazirus in the concentric circles. To be forfeited, Hasam shtei nazirus, because over there you're dealing with 2 distinct periods of nazirus. It is one period of nazirus. The bottom line is, you're right. You finished your period of nazirus, but are you allowed to drink wine? No. Are you allowed to be metama mace? No. Why not? Because you didn't tie it off. You didn't tie it off. So that at the end of the day, de facto, you're still in nazirus. Therefore, you do forfeit. We're now up to 14b2.
I think you should stop.
We are. We're going to be finishing. We're going to be stopping in a minute. Here we go. Amar Rav Chizda, Hakol Moedim, both Rav and Shmuel agree, She'im Kidei Sar Bedam, that if his hair was still holy when the blood of his sacrifice were applied, meaning he brought the kabbanos, the chatas, the shlomim, and the oila, and before he got to the barber to cut his hair, he became tamei meis. Zakti Gemara, ein loy takana, he has no remedy. There's no way for him to conclude his nazirus. On the one hand, he brought his kabbanis already. On the other hand, he's supposed to throw his hair under the fire. Right now, he can't do that because he's tamei meis. By the time he finishes being tamei meis, what's he going to do with his hair? Where's it going? He's stuck. Dr. Gemara, Aliba Dama. Who's this like? Aliba de Rabbi Eliezer. If it's like Rabbi Eliezer, even the Yomatal Gerdas Miyakevis, Rabbi Eliezer holds that shaving the head is critical to releasing the Nazir from the prohibitions. Toich Me'olasi. That in that case, even if he brought the kabbanis, if the hair hasn't been cut, he's still a Nazir. The lister, and therefore he's still a Nazir. And if he's a Nazir and he becomes tamei meis, what's the rule, everybody? All the days get forfeited. He brought his kabbanos. Says Rabbi Eliezer, according to me, it doesn't matter. Until you cut your hair and throw it under the fire, you're still a Nazir. So if you become tamei meis, you become contaminated to the dead, what happens? You forfeit all your days. Start over your nazirus. Bring again 3 kabbanos, and then you'll shave your head and you'll be good to go. Right? The lister. Ella aliba de Rabbanon. You want to say it's the Rabbanon. They say just the opposite. The shaving the head is not critical to releasing the Nazir from the Nazir's prohibitions. In their opinion, when you bring the 3 kabbanos, the chatas, the oila, and the shlomim, that's enough. without even cutting your hair. So in that case, he could certainly cut his hair. It's no longer a Nazir. He brought the 3 kabbanos. According to the Rabbanan, the Nazir is over. Now you just became a regular Tumah Mace. A regular Tumah Mace is allowed to get a haircut. Go get a haircut. This is even saying going to the Rabbanan. And you don't understand when he said, Umay ein loy takana, it means ein loy takana lemitzvahs giluach. There is no kantana about fulfilling the mitzvah of head shaving. What's the mitzvah of cutting your hair? It's not just cutting your hair, it's throwing it under the fire that's underneath the imurim, the meats and the fats of those kabbalas. Yeah, Daddy.
What the Gemara is saying here, that he's not in the takol the mitzvah giluach. The mitzvah of giluach is to do it betahara when he's torah.
Oh, right.
And he's doing the giluach while he is tumah.
And more, Daddy, take another step.
He's not mekayim the mitzvah. He has the giluach. The throwing under the fire is not important.
It's not part of the mitzvah?
That's not important. What's important, the mitzvah is that you should do it while you're Torah, you're pure.
While you're still pure.
Yeah. He's doing it while he's tumah. So he's not mekayim mitzvah.
In other words, what you're saying is, if he does it while he's tar, it's the haircut of a Nazir.
Right.
If he takes the haircut while he's tameh,
putting it in the fire under the pot is not. That's
not the thing.
Irrelevant.
So what you're really saying is, when he does it while he's tar, the haircut, it's a Nazirus haircut.
Right.
When he goes in and takes a haircut while he's tameh, it's like our haircuts.
Yeah,
it's like going to Mario. It's like going to Mario and Joe's, the barber shop over there in Boca Raton.
By public.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Very good. This is where we're stopping, right over here.